Good morning or afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great Thursday so far. We are continuing to track possible tropical storm Alex to possibly impact the Florida coast or pretty much central and southern Florida. So we're going to get right into this here. We have a lot of updates that are coming into the center here. And we are looking at the National Hurricane Center where we do have Invest 91L. And as you can see, this still has an 80% chance of a cyclone formation in 5 days from the National Hurricane Center. The other disturbance east of the Florida coast, it now has a 0% chance of a cyclone formation in 5 days. So not much to worry about there. But our main concern right now is for possible tropical storm Alex, which the National Hurricane Center is continuing to have confidence that this will turn into a tropical depression or tropical storm within the next 1 to 2 days. Now here's the satellite imagery for 91L. As you can see, we have a substantial amount of convection. As you saw the community post I posted, we have a substantial amount of convection this morning that I have observed throughout near the center of this thing. As you can see, we are seeing a massive amount of thunderstorm activity, and this is going to further strengthen it. If this was right in the center, this could be a lot much of a stronger storm. However, it is just a little bit off center. You can see these low-level clouds that are kind of moving counterclockwise, and you can definitely tell that this is definitely trying to get act together. Once you see kind of those clouds spinning at the low levels, that's when you know that this is definitely really getting its act together. Once we get more convection wrapping around the center, we could possibly see here a tropical depression, tropical storm, and we can even look at the intensity guidance where this is increasingly heading towards a tropical storm. As you can see, the wind speeds right now are around 34 miles per hour or 30 knots. So we're at about right near a tropical depression strength. Once we do reach around 40 knots here, this could be a tropical storm. Any hour. As you can see, a lot of these models now do point towards that tropical storm strength here by around 72 hours or so. A lot are still staying under tropical storm strength. And as you can see right here where we are looking around 96 hours, that's where it is expecting landfall. As you can see, we are seeing a couple here that are going in a little bit more of a mid of tropical storm strength, not really near category 1 hurricane strength, as you can see from today's update. So I think this is just mainly going to be a tropical storm at most. Due to, we can look at wind shear. So let's look at wind shear, current wind shear that we are looking at here across the western Atlantic, and those reds contours, that's a substantial wind shear. That is unfavorable wind shear. As you can see, we get to more of those yellows as we get to more of neutral wind shear. So they are still able to develop in those areas, but they are going to be having a little more difficult time. And then those green contours, that's definitely very favorable wind shear. Now, as you can see, here's a location of our tropical cyclones, so our Invest 91L, right in this area here. That's our location, the center location right now, and you can see here we have a massive area of wind shear, and this is going to be affecting it much. As you can see here, it is not going to be strengthening that much, but it definitely will have a hard time with that amount of convection that's developing this morning. That may protect it a little bit and may strengthen a little bit into tropical depression or so, but it's not going to be going over a hurricane or anything like that due to the substantial amount of wind shear it's going to be going through to get to Florida here. So say if this wind shear does weaken or move out of the area, this definitely will have a bigger chance of getting to a higher end tropical storm. And this is why the models are showing this kind of stalling out as a tropical depression, tropical storm impacting Florida, but then it is going to enter a much lower wind shear. That's where it's maybe possible to become a hurricane after it impacts Florida and the Atlantic, but then it's going to be possibly strengthening. Then it may protect us from more wind shear. I don't think we're going to see many impacts from the northeast coast, but we really need to watch it after Florida is what we're looking at. Now here's the spaghetti models we're going to be looking at here, the Invest 91L model track guidance. Most of these, as you can see, I did say in the community post for today's update, most of these are still the same here. We do have a couple still going into the Gulf, but a lot of these are pointing towards us going to Florida and then just straight off into the Atlantic. No impacts to the East Coast at all, but mainly rip currents may be some of that risk there. So looks like this is definitely going into southern Florida for mainly heavy rainfall and maybe some gusty winds, but it's not going to be anything really serious. We're going to be talking about flooding. Pretty much be the main concern with this one. Again, we got a lot of wind shear that is really preventing this from developing into more of a stronger hurricane. Now, if there wasn't any wind shear, this could possibly turn into quite the hurricane here. Due to we have a decent amount of warmer waters along the coast here of Florida now in Cuba, and that will strengthen it if there wasn't any wind shear. But again, due to that wind shear, we aren't expecting that much of a strong hurricane. The central pressure right now is 1,003 millibars and continues to drop. So it will be interesting as it heads over more of these waters. The actual center is still over some land, but it will continue to move off into the Gulf and Caribbean as we head throughout the next few hours here. So it's going to be interesting, a very interesting day for sure to see what it does once it enters the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Now, latest GFS model run, as you can see, it does still make it as a tropical storm making landfall in Florida. Pressure drops very slowly again due to that substantial wind shear. As you can see, it should be off the coast according to the GFS model. But looking at WCV3 right now, the low pressure is still a bit over land or just about in the water now. So as you can see, this is about 1 a.m. tonight, 1 a.m. tomorrow. 7 a.m. tomorrow, it does look like it's going to be strengthening to a tropical depression strength. And then we do get to around 1 a.m. of Saturday. This is likely when it could become a tropical storm strength with a little more wind shear moving out of the area. But it really depends here. It really depends. This could be making landfall as a tropical depression. It could be making a landfall as not a cyclone. This could be making landfall as a high-end tropical storm. We really don't know as of this time. The National Hurricane Center is really analyzing this and deciding on what to forecast for this, since models are so interesting with this storm. Again, as you can see, after it exits Florida, it's going to be definitely strengthened a bit, probably into a hurricane. As you can see, central pressure is possibly dropping into the 980s, and that's typically when you do see like a low-end Category 1 hurricane. That could definitely be a possibility here with pretty much not many impacts to the East Coast. So definitely quite the interesting storm. And as we head forward here, there is Bermuda right there. As we head forward even more, this may bring some impacts to Bermuda actually. As you can see, I'll put a little dot where Bermuda is, and as we move forward here, this storm could actually bring some impacts to the little island of Bermuda. As you can see, may sideswipe, but we don't know. This is not really the exact path of it in the Atlantic, but definitely Bermuda could be in favor for that hurricane. It's not going to be anything super strong like we saw with Hurricane Larry, but definitely a big possibility, and then it turns into kind of a leftover storm for the Europe countries, but it's not going to be lasting that long there. But definitely quite the fish storm actually after it exits Florida. Now we do have breaking news here. We do have a mission, a Recon mission, so a National Hurricane Center airplane, and NOAA airplane is going to be headed into this invest. They are currently en route. Okay, so this is gonna be probably going through it today, throughout this afternoon. I will have much more details coming out from that, and possibly within the next couple of days we may have a live stream actually breaking what the impacts will be for central and southern Florida. So definitely stay tuned for that. But just news right now that we are seeing a Recon that is gearing up to currently head towards this invest and analyze really what it's doing and what it's going to do to central and southern Florida. That's really all the details we have right now. And if you go to the last video, we do have a little more details, but until this actually becomes a tropical depression, We aren't going to have many details on impacts or anything like that. We are going to see definitely a flash flooding risk for southern Florida, but not really much of a damaging wind threat with this storm here. So subscribe to the channel for more updates on this. Make sure to like the video, to possibly recommend this to people who may be living in the path of this, to kind of warn them that this could bring some flooding to the area and stuff like that. And make sure you do inform them on the path, share this on social media and all of that. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.